Hello and welcome to Spring Commander Forged Alliance, and this one I'm going to try something different. I think it will be useful especially for those people who have never played this game but are watching videos. I'm sure there's quite a few of them, especially on Guile's channel, or anybody else who's interested in this game. So what I'll do is we have Napalm and Blind Noob going at it, and I'll look at 3 minutes of Napalm, 3 minutes of Blind Noob, go back and forth just to see exactly what they see and how the game is so different from different players and what they actually do. One difference, of course, in this one is going to be Napalm not using hot build, doing everything with his mouse, and then Blind Noob will use that mod, and I'll probably put some links to get that mod and all those other good things in the description for people who are interested. But so far, Canis River, got to get that Hydra. It's medium range, it's vulnerable, it's something that you can raid, and here we see the McMarine going up ahead of the engineer for Napalm. Otherwise, Napalm with the ACU, looks like the ACU is also going to come out to the Hydra, so it'll be NG plus ACU. The other NG for Napalm just picks up a bunch of mask tractors and a lot of reclaim for Napalm. And let's see how that goes. So that McMarine, they're playing defense for Napalm. He's not doing much else with it. Some of the things I'd like to look at. Actually, there we see the third engineer from Napalm going on power. So that's a lot of power. Assuming you're going to get that Hydro. One thing about, of course, the Hydro on the Caniset is a little vulnerable. So having that extra power is always the safe move. It's fourth engineer for Napalm. A whole bunch of factory, getting some adjacency. And otherwise, the McMarines that he's made are kind of getting stale. They don't get better with age. And you can see about 8-to-1 RT to tank ratio for that first factory. And at this point, we're seeing the beginning of this base. We see two engineers are expanding, first and second, and then third and fourth engineer. One started the power spam, the other one starting the land spam. See how that works out, and the ACU out into the field. I think in this one it could have been both engineers on the land spam, but Napalm is known for going a bit heavy on the power, and that does give you a lot of opportunities for air emergencies like that, things like that. So it might not be the most efficient, but it's definitely the most safe method to go. Looks like a raid going to the top. So now what we're going to do is going to switch to Blind Noob and see how he's doing. So Blind Noob is opposite of Napalm on the other side of the map, starting with some land as well. You can see no McMarines here, just tanks for defense. And there's a whole bunch of NGs at first, and then as the build queue progresses, there's less and less engineers just to maximize the tank output. Two pigeons, and of course all those chatting that you see how annoying that is, and the reason people do that is basically to try to disturb the thinking process of the other player. It's definitely something good to do. You can even ask silly questions about where they are and how they're doing, things like that. Definitely a part of the gameplay. So once again, you can see it's the same thing for both players. Going to the Hydra and a scout coming through for Blind Noob. And instead of expanding, the second engineer is going to go straight to the factories. Something you can do on this map, given that you start with 6 mask extractors, something unusual. You can see it's going to be a big land spam. You can see the second and third engineer on the land spam. So quite a big difference there between Napalm and Blind Noob. Looks like just factories and things like that, but that order actually matters quite a bit. But this engineer going to the Hydra does the exact same thing for both Napalm and Blind Noob. And you can see the hot build here, how easy it is to basically push a button on the keyboard and you get any unit that you want. so much easier than what Napalm is doing, but some people are used to it, and actually quite a few good players just do the mouse thing. Just because if you're used to it, it sucks to switch. I played for 5 years with that hot build, and then switched, and it was awesome. So you can see here the consequence of not going with a whole bunch of power for Blind Noob. He's really minimal on power. It's completely drained. He's not in the negative, but it is efficient, but it's not as safe. You can see there's an air factory that's planned for Blind Noob. Here it can open minute 3. And you can see that placement on the radar. It's a very common place to put radar, and on the right side we just saw a scout for Noob spot those mech marines. That's exactly the spot that we left off Napalm last time. So Napalm is going with that attack to the top right side. We see there's an engineer there, so it's good scouting from Blind Noob. He knows exactly what's going on, and he probably should run away, but he's going to try to be greedy and grab that mask extractor. He's going to get the mask extractor, but is likely to die. See some tanks in response. Yeah, there's going to be at least 3 tanks. Otherwise, you can see the factory assist between the different factories. And no excess power. But then we're going to see that air factory go up for Blind Noob. Really no reason to make air for defense. This is going to be an offensive move. He's going to try to force Napalm to switch up his order. Try to maybe pick off some engineers. And one really good way to play this is if you go with your ACU after the Hydro. Take out the Hydro and then bomb the pigeons with the air. You can win this game in 7 minutes. But let's see. So back to Napalm. So now we're going to see a little bit of the past. Napalm moving out of his base. Still, you can see the eco for Napalm, so much more power. And there is that raiding group, which is going to run into an engineer. So hopefully this is useful for showing people what this game looks like when you're playing it in there. You see, actually squads being used by Napalm. So he's got a squad of 1 for those mech marines. And he also has music playing, so may or may not help. Napalm gained himself a better reclaim, 400 reclaim total. Very fast on that reclaim. And now a total of 8 land factories planned. And the mech marines back from a successful raid. Looks like the ACU is going to go wide for Napalm. And now he just spotted the ACU for Blind Noob. That should get a response from Napalm. He's going to get a radar up and a point defense. A very advanced point defense, not a very safe place for it. Depending on what Blind Noob does with the ACU, that could be a dangerous move. But you can see how the Hydro is a bit exposed with the ACU out. The ACU here, coming up minute 5, is a very powerful weapon. Can walk into a base and cause all kinds of havoc, so it is going to force Napalm to make 250 mass point defense. That's 5 tanks that he could be making. But that's this is where that point defense is a little too advanced. And a point defense between a whole bunch of factories is going to be constructed by Napalm. And Blind Noob retreats, or he's unsure of what he wants to do. He may not have a good intel on what Napalm's ACU is doing, and this could be dangerous if he runs in and meets the ACU and gets trapped. And you can see a whole bunch of units walking back for Napalm. Napalm not going back home. He's going to go on an attack. So far, the side of the river for Napalm looking quite good. And Noob, he did just run into the ACU up on top. I think he knows exactly the position. He can go ahead and attack. And now we're going to see huge mass deficit for Napalm. And here come the bombers from Blind Noob. Terrible bomb. That was such a pathetic bomb. Oh my gosh. But a total mass stall for Napalm. This is where A little bit of reclaim would be perfect for if the ACU is standing next to a rock. 100 mass would be excellent.
Commander under attack.
Yeah, that 74 mass is going to be used very quickly. Actually, no more mass stall. A whole bunch of factories in air, and this is what we see now. The power is perfect. Yeah, the second bomb was much better, and a whole bunch of flak now for napalm. If you overmake power early on and then you go air, then you don't power stall, and you're in really good position. But if you don't overmake power and then you are forced to make air, then you're in huge trouble, especially if you get hit a little bit from the air with those bombs. So it's a very big trade-off. Looks like the ACU for Blind Noob moving toward the ACU of napalm. A couple nice bombs from Blind Noob. You can see the effect of that, a whole bunch of flak for napalm that he's put off to the side. Now he will retreat, regroup his units. These choke points on this map are very important, not to walk in single file. And napalm here, minute 7, almost hasn't scouted yet Blind Noob's base, wondering if he should move in. But 1100 reclaim plus 24 extraction has his side of the river nearly completely capped with mass, very even mass in this one. So with UEF unable to cross the Tech 1 stage across the river, and you will see that napalm's ACU is going to take out some radar. Blind Noob also getting some free kills. Napalm is going to run away. It looks like a successful attack. This is a nice sandwich move from napalm. Noob really didn't have anywhere to retreat to. Had to retreat through a superior force. So a victory for napalm there, and a whole bunch of reclaim. I imagine a whole bunch of engineers. Yeah, we already see those engineers from napalm are going to make it there. Get a whole bunch of free mass. And a bit of capturing action. Might as well capture it. So napalm now beginning to get map control. He is a bit exposed on the left side, but he is taking out 4 mass extractors. Used to belong to Blind Noob. He's going to claim to himself and a counterattack from Blind Noob to restore parity here. So going back to the Noob. It's a little while back here, minute 4. This is where the Noob is thinking about walking into napalm's base. This is interesting. Seeing everything twice, we really get a thorough picture of what has happened. See the reclaim. Well, let's see what the reclaim is going to be coming up minute 7. So far, it's only about 400. A little less for Blind Noob.
Commander under attack.
And you can see the radar from Blind Noob at that rock doing a good job. A little more advanced than napalm's radar. And here, this is where Noob should have been walking into napalm's base. A missed opportunity here, but he doesn't know where the ACU is, and he's going to see the ACU now. And this is the point where he can turn around and go on an attack, because he knows he's going to be pretty safe, especially with those units on the right side in support. Either go after the Hydro, force the construction of some point defenses. And now the bomber is going to come in from Blind Noob, and then he's going to see that he probably should go in. That was that terrible bomb that completely missed. Will force a bit of flak. And the ACU for Blind Noob really not the correct place to attack. It's just out of reach of really good targets. That was a power storage to allow overcharging. So now it looks like Noob deciding to pull back and play defense, maybe try to trap napalm's ACU. Things like that, something that probably shouldn't happen. And here a couple more factors will be nice for Noob. Got a little too much mass. Here a little after 6 minutes, 800 mass. So catching up to Napalm. More factories planned. As expected based on the eco, although not looking as good anymore. More power for Blind Noob. And here we can see it's basically just two conflicts with Noob's ACU completely out of position. Not doing anything useful. And you don't want to retreat too much on either side. It's really a game of who has more mass extractors. And if you have a lot of mass, you might as well upgrade one, but definitely not in a position to upgrade if you're a Blind Noob. $11 kills for Noob. And it's nice to have a group of engineers on a factory attack move, waiting for orders. And it looks like a successful attack from Napalm. Blind really wasn't able to do much about it. This is where he had to run away from the ACU of Napalm. Napalm beginning to gain map control. That's a nice engineer in the corner for Noob. He's going to get Raider. You're going to get coverage of Napalm's base. Let's see if that's going to be useful.
Commander under attack.
This is that attack on the left side from Noob to restore even map control. He needs to get engineers in that position. Now 1100 reclaim, so very similar to Napalm. Napalm perhaps slightly more, maybe a few hundred. And now I can see the power problems beginning for Noob. Whenever he has enough mass, he is having power problems, and now that point defense on the left side. Big investment doing its job, preventing a further push. And the AC, you can see the radar coverage is really nice. And it looks like Napalm's ACU is going to try to take the right side. And a point defense going up in a very similar position as for Napalm.
Commander under attack.
And perhaps Blind Noob will finally move in, try to attack that Hydra. And it looks like an attack, and is that point defense going to be completed? You can see, yeah, I think Noob wanted to pause his factories there to allow that engineer to complete the point defense, but didn't do it. And now he's paused his factories for some reason after the fact. I think he's out of phase there. Now he's going to unpause him back. It's a missed opportunity, although Napalm did not take that top corner. So far quite even in terms of map control. Exactly even now, horizontal divide. Both ACUs on the right side, and it looks like we just saw Tech 2 land from Noob. Let's see, what point are we here? A minute 8. So a minute or two behind. This is where Napalm is going to push against that point defense. And you can see Napalm here, the eco, the difference. Huge excess power. And no power storage. So the point defense does its job. And looking at this game at 8 minutes, it's really hard to see who has any kind of advantages. The map control is very even, and actually looking now at the reclaim, significant advantage for Napalm, about 1,000. So that could be a difference, and that was all that reclaim around that hill. We saw that battle where unsuccessful retreat there from Blind Noob. Still a bunch of reclaim to get in that corner. So you can see that has been a minor victory for Napalm in this game. And I guess you can see why Blind Noob isn't really moving in. Couldn't really see this on radar from Blind Noob, but there's a pretty large force you do have to respect. looks like that bottom corner has been found out. Raider and Flak are going to be taken out. And it looks like some point defense fortifications. That is going to stall the even more land factories. So Napalm not stopping here. He's got now over 10 land factories. Stirring everything that he's got. And that extra by 1,500 reclaim, maybe even more. That's a lot of tanks. That's 30 tanks extra from reclaim, and Napalm definitely did that. And that could be the numbers advantage now for Napalm here in minute 10. Now even more free reclaim. Now perhaps a move there on the left side at the same time as Napalm moving in, using his overcharge. That's another good reason to have a whole bunch of power. It can overcharge much more often. Really, the reload time is completely based on your excess power at this stage of the game. And now Napalm also using his Air Force quite nicely. Looks like he has got some sort of air control. Definitely the only one bombing at this stage. He has now spotted Tech 2. As you see, Tech 2 engineers, Tech 2 flak. And he's going to retreat. Maybe overcharge a couple Mongoose, the long-range bots. So it's Tech 2 versus numbers here, and Napalm actually with big numbers. Still reclaiming 4,000 now on the reclaim, and perhaps a push. And now a retreat. So that was a bit of a fake there from Napalm. And those fakes are nice because they do force the other player to react, and they start to build more defense. Then you pull back and do your eco, whatever you want to do. So if you have a scary looking force like Napalm does, might as well use it to force the other player to make decisions. But you can see with that hot build, you gotta do that extra click. It's a fraction of a second, but it is annoying once you get used to hot build. And now Napalm beginning to take over map control. He's nearly got his entire side of the river, and he's definitely made a big progress on Noob's side as well. And now Napalm is going to go for gun. Not an issue with so much excess power, but he probably wants to. Oh wow, that's some friendly fire there from Napalm's bombers. Probably want to pause the factories at this point, although perhaps that's not something that Napalm likes to do. But a huge mass stall. Now bomber harassment exactly on Blind Noob's base. Blind Noob counterattacking on the left side. Looks like he's got the numbers. Yep, and Napalm is going to take half his force and move him over. Do see some Tech 2 units, Tech 2 point defenses. A significant force, a whole bunch of Tech 2 Mongoose. Some shields. Napalm now halfway on the... Yeah, now he's going to pause all of his land factories. He's going to get a gun much faster. But good bombers from Blind Noob, or on Blind Noob from Napalm. And this is exactly the point where Napalm should have been attacked. Let's see why he wasn't. See what Blind Noob is doing. So a couple of minutes back, you can see the reclaim is only 1,500. Here coming up minute 10. So definitely 1,500 or 2,000 less reclaim for Blind Noob. And it was that really small insignificant thing that happened a few minutes ago around the right side where Napalm got that small victory on the retreat of Blind Noob's forces away from the ACU. So there's the Tech 2 land factories. See the flak. Positioning of the flak somewhere in the middle is very important. Al Noob looks like he will retreat just in case with his ACU, in case Napalm wants to win with his. you can see that point defense from Napalm. That is going to make Noob really reluctant to attack that force on the bottom right, even if he had superior numbers. And some problems on the left side. And now 3,000 reclaim. Actually, 3,000 versus 4,000. So a little closer than perhaps I initially thought. The tech to point defense is not going to go to work. So this is where Napalm, if he attacks, he's got to do it fast. And this is that fake that Napalm did. But really the big issue is that attack on the left side. Noob having to put a whole bunch of forces in that direction to play defense. More tech to point defense is going up. And tech to point defense is actually quite expensive in terms of power to build. But no power problems whatsoever, and a whole bunch of factories paused for blind Noob. He's trying to get as much of his resources to his tech 2 units, the tech 2 engineer and tech 2 land factory, which means that he's not going to be having too much volume in terms of units. Now here's that friendly fire from Napalm. And just barely a victory there for Noob on the left side. Looks like a whole bunch of arty. Or just engineers. So factory on engineers. The factory attack move, anticipating some reclaim in that position on the right side. And now, yeah, it looks like blind Noob's no more bombers, just interceptors. He's going to try to win air back because he's getting harassed quite hard. So nearly 4,000 reclaim. And this is where Noob on the radar we just saw there, he needs to be able to recognize that ACU being upgraded, and this is where he really should go on an attack. This is where the arty is going to take out that point defense theoretically. And here, instead of doing all these things on the left side, instead a push against Napalm's ACU, perhaps to force a cancel, and it looks like just not in time. Napalm has just completed, and now he's got the gun. And the gun, of course, on a map like this, where you know exactly where your enemy is going to be very good against Tech 2. And you can see a force from blind Noob on the bottom there, getting he's going to get ran over. Some overcharges from Napalm. Some retreats. There's appears to be 3 tech to point defenses up for Noob. He's got a nice force breaking through that point defense, but he doesn't have a very strong position there on the left, with Napalm now attacking. It's a gun versus tech 2, and big volume of units for Napalm. More scouting engineers dropping bombs. And this is where some of those factories for Noob should not have been paused. There's no reason to have those paused right now. And Napalm now pushing in. Noob thinking that this is a fight that he should have. Let's see it actually from Napalm's point of view. He's now going to finish the gun right as he saw that move from Noob. It's really perfect timing there from Napalm. And he's going to see that force with a single mongoose in the middle. He's going to pull back some units and then take it out with superior numbers. Now up on top, a couple overcharges. We're probably going to see some nice overcharges from Napalm in this one. Oh, Napalm choosing to push ahead with his Tech 1 instead of the ACU. Usually the ACU leads. Some problems on the left side, but Napalm is not going to choose to perhaps pay too much attention. Something a bit annoying, but he's got something else to take care of. He's going to bomb. And this is where it'd be nice to have more hands and faster APM. There goes that Tech 2 engineer. Great overcharge from Napalm. A couple of those already sneak through for blind noob. Now fight here is where Napalm's got to overcharge. It's going to break the shield. And this is 5,000 power is so critical. Napalm is waiting for yet another overcharge to load up. During that time he can go and attack elsewhere. It looks like he just gave an order that all of his factories move toward Noob's base. Saw some overcharges on point defenses. A successful attack looks like against the point defense. And there is some already there, so he'll be able to win. And Napalm just rushing in head first. 61 kills. He needs 14 more kills. Gets some veterans. He runs into a point defense. Draws quite a bit of fire, but still more than halfway health. And it's a major attack from Napalm with that gun. But it's very dangerous to do against tech to point defenses. A few more tech to point defenses. And things like not having the overcharge at the right time could be a big issue. But there isn't too many point defenses. Some great bombers there from Napalm. Not sure what they were targeting, but they're great scouts nonetheless. Now total map control from Napalm. A blind noob in this position, he cannot not get a victory here at this point because there's so much reclaim on the ground. And yet another overcharge. And that's that range on that gun when it's upgraded. It's so nice. Those few extra feet, whatever those units are. Napalm going into the corner and actually attacking on the other side. This is where it's so devastating for blind noob. If that force wasn't there on the left side, he could feel much more safe. He needs to play defense. He's got a nice licking shield, but because he has to pull a bunch of units back, that's going to take a lot of his concentration. And it's just a stream of units from Napalm and this tech to factory. And if noob loses that tech to factory and he's lost all the tech to point defenses, that's basically game over. And that's basically what we're seeing here. There's really no way back for blind noob. Blind noob unhappy with the result. Understandably, it was quite even until Napalm just took all of his forces. Yeah, it was very even. The reclaim was even actually. The difference was Tech 2 and the volume of units from Napalm was just larger. And not attacking at the right moment by noob when Napalm was getting an upgrade right in front of his base. And that was a huge mistake, and Napalm made him pay some nice overcharges. Yeah, at this point, this game is basically a formality. See some Tech 2 air, Tech 2 power, and some gunships. And Napalm looking for a big overcharge, and blind noob throws in the towel. So we'll also watch the ending here from noob's point of view. See at which point he will realize that he was screwed. So a couple of minutes ago here, you see noob is in retreat. So he's still feeling pretty good, and a couple of those tech to point defenses got shields. A whole bunch of mongoose. He's got his ACU at full health. He's outranged, and you can see the range on that tech to point defense is huge. He has lost that position on the left side, which could be a problem. The ACU there for Blind Noob way out of position. He should be fighting together with his forces. It looks like a point defense going up, and you can see so much mass for Blind Noob, just no build capacity. For whatever reason, that Tech 2 factory not making anything. That's a huge mistake. And that doesn't make sense, and only now it's going to be a bunch of shields, so could have been a couple good units coming out. Something like pillars in this position would be nice. Some bombers are coming in. Looks like that point defenses on the left side is going to get killed by a bunch of Tech 1. Noob back to defend his Tech 2 factory. Some Tech 1 point defenses, and we just saw Noob go from having a whole bunch of mass to nothing, and he's absolutely stalling now. And that point defense there, Tech 1 would be very nice if he could finish it, but here basically nothing is going to be produced. Blind Noob just basically started all of his factories at once. He had that 700 mass that he used in a few seconds. And here it's basically not much that can be done. Trying to get that shield to buy him some more time, 18 kills on that Tech 2 point defense, but it's Tech 1 plus the ACU. So much reclaim that I'm sure Blind Noob here is thinking if he could have survived this push, this game would be his. But this is the point where he realizes he's going to die. Of course, Blind Noob has a history of losing to Napalm. It's quite frustrating, but Napalm, you can see the rating, really one of the top players in this game currently. There's that Tech 2 factory wreck. So hopefully people enjoyed this. I'm not sure if I'll do this format more often. It's a little weird to look at things over and over. I think this was a nice demonstration to see what the different players see. You can see it's a lot more depressing when you lose. You don't have much of a base. You got the mass flashing at you, and you're just raging in chat. That's basically all you got left to do. Yep. Feeling safe isn't a good excuse. The bombing continues.
Commander
And that's
under
the
attack.
control case. So hopefully people enjoy this.